Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is hautemesstom. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you are new here, I would love to have you subscribe. And also if you're new, I would love for you to know that I am currently on a 6-month no-buy. So all of my content right now is focused on loving my collection the way it is, being hypercritical of what is going on sale out in the real world, like what are these brands putting out, but also being hypercritical of what I've brought into my collection and was it worth me buying in the first place. This kind of falls in line with what we're doing today. So essentially what we're going to do is look at some products that I anti-hauled in the past. And I'm gonna try to decide here and now whether or not I was right the first time. Now, again, makeup is not something that any of us need. This is not a need. But what is the FOMO real? Did I easily dismiss something that I could have loved in my collection? Is there something that I lust? Is there something that I lust for in retrospect that I did not get the opportunity to purchase because it no longer exists? That's what we're going to explore. That's the thought activity we're going to explore in this video. What I'm talking about today, I anti-hauled in there are multiple videos that I pulled these specific items from. And I don't know that all of these are still live on my channel. You know, we live, we laugh, we learn, we grow. And I did that. I did all of those things. I lived, I laughed, I've learned, I've grown. We're gonna look at a 2021 Tom perspective at these items, and I'm gonna let you know what I think about them. The first item I would like to discuss with you are Pat McGrath Labs Mattetrance lipsticks. I believe in this video I was anti-hauling the idea of buying the complete set, which was something that Pat McGrath did at the time. I don't think it's something that still occurs on her website. But you could buy however many lipsticks there were in the collection for a low price of around $300. And I was considering it, but I did anti-haul it and I never ended up buying the whole set. Have I bought Mattetrance lipsticks since? Yes, I own 5 or 6 of them. And while they are beautiful lipsticks, when am I gonna run through a lipstick? I don't wear makeup every day. I often forget to put lipstick on when I've done a look. I have, recorded whole videos where I'm not wearing a lip. That is a fact. That is a thing that has happened. These are things that I know about me. So I did not need, I'm sure there were upwards of between 20 and 30 different shades. I did not need that. I did not need that. So I was very much in the right in this scenario to not buy that. Like, good on you, Tom. Impulse control, Tom, you did it. I bet you though, if that Tom had enough money, that they would have been bought. And I'm not saying that even facetiously. If I had $300, I know I would have bought it, but I didn't have $300, so I had to talk myself out of it. And that's sad, but that's why I'm on this no-buy. We are living, we are laughing, we are learning, we are loving. You know how people talk about going on their Eat, Pray, Love because they read some novel? I think that once I go on my journey, it will be my live, laugh, love because I am basic. I do refer to myself as a nuanced baguette. I don't use the word baguette. I use a different word. Put it together. Sell it for less. Rootful Express. Oh my God. Let's talk about the KVD. It's Kat Von D at the time. Shade and Light Glimmer palette. Now, I don't know what I had to say about this, but I'm pretty sure I probably thought it was flat out stupid. Now, I think looking at it now, thinking about it now, I don't think it's as stupid. It's a good companion piece to the Shade and Light palette. However, I do think a product of the time, the Glimmer version, we weren't wearing makeup then the way we're wearing makeup now, or at least the trends that I have found myself in. So I've been following a lot of creators who are very into topper shades, beautiful, flaky, gorgeous. Like, we're doing a lot of that now, at least, like, that's what I'm very interested in, and a lot of the creators that I currently follow, that's what we're interested in, like, PC, beautiful, intrigue, toppers, shimmer, all of that. That's like, look, does it look wet? Like, that's also, like, something that I'm very into. Looking wet without being wet. I hate eyeglosses. Anyway, so I think that now this is a better idea, but I don't think that in the way that like, if they came out with this exact palette now, that it would do much better than it did at the time. Like, we dissed on shimmers quite a bit in 2016, 2017, whenever this was released. It was very easy to shit on the idea of a whole shimmer palette. It's just, who's gonna pull mattes from elsewhere? Now I think there's a lot of a vibe where like you just put a shimmer on your lid and it is like, that is the look. We've done it. We're running out the door. We're serving. But yeah, I don't know. I would never, I wouldn't buy this. I'm not gonna go to KVD for some singles. Now I am intrigued by KVD's like Glimmer shimmer sticks. Now we had those in store when I worked there. And it took a long time for them to catch on because I feel like they're like rather popular now, but they were not popular at the time. Like when they first launched, like they were kind of, KVD is an interesting brand to like do a case study on. So if you're smart enough, if you are an academic, you are in academia, I would love to hear your thoughts. Can you do some research on that for me? Ah, the predecessor to Modern Renaissance, the less successful predecessor to Modern Renaissance, the Naked Heat palette from Tarte, Urban Decay. Tarte had Tartelette Heat. So I'm not crazy. But what happened, if you missed it, if you weren't here for the literal modern renaissance of makeup. Essentially what happened was they put out this Anastasia Beverly Hills, like hit the nail on the head, gave everyone what they wanted. I'm sure Anastasia Beverly Hills was like laying on a pile of money just going, oh, I am so rich, we invented eyeshadow. And all the other brands were like, we could do that. Naked Heat is a product of trying to capture what the success of modern Renaissance did without being as good or innovative as the modern Renaissance was. Now, I can't remember if Naked Heat or Naked Cherry came out first, but this was the first time we were branching out of a true neutral moment in the Naked palettes. We have Naked Cyber now, so we've left the building. We are in a different continent now with the Naked palettes, but this was like, I'm pretty sure this was the first time we were like, what if the Naked palettes like weren't like so naked? Like what if they were like something completely different? Like how would you feel about that? Now I feel like this was received rather well, not poorly. It was received poorly by yours truly. But I don't even think that, I probably said I probably was talking mad shit at the time. I was like, I did not believe in warm eyeshadows. It was cool tones only, baby. Up on this channel, cool tone city, cool tones only, magenta, purple, purple, purple. That was what I was interested in. Fuchsia. Anything with a blue base, I was putting on my face, okay? The irony of me wearing this particular look today is like, not lost on me though, but it's kind of funny. Anyway, the Naked Heat was never gonna intrigue me. Urban Decay, well, I do like their Stay Naked foundation. The last time they really got me was the Electric palette, and the Electric palette was discontinued when I bought it. Like it was half off when I bought it. It's no longer in my collection, RIP to a real one every day. Urban Decay, it's been a minute, we've been sleeping. I am intrigued by the Naked Cyber palette, but I don't know that it will be in existence by the time that I know buy is over, so yeah, I don't think I'm gonna, if it's in retrospect, didn't need it, not gonna buy it. Didn't need this, not gonna buy it. But it still exists if you're interested in this palette. They still sell this, I'm pretty sure. Let's talk about the Huda Desert Dusk palette. Now, I don't know what shit I had to say about this. I am not a fan of Huda, the person. So I'm pretty sure what I was talking about was just like mad shit about Huda. And I was like, that's why I'm not gonna buy it. I'm just not gonna buy it because I don't like Huda. I still don't like Huda, and I would never spend money on Huda. So there's that, first and foremost. However, if I'm looking at this palette in retrospect, I think it's really pretty. It's actually very pretty. It's not something that I would buy per se, but it is pretty. Because, my perspective has changed a little bit. I'm amidst a 6-month no-buy, so I am on month 3. I'm not done with month 3, but I'm on month 3. My perspectives and how I view things change. Like, I'm just not gonna buy palettes from Huda. But also I could recreate this, not easily in my collection, but there's a lot of stuff in my collection that I can like really, if I wanted to recreate this, I could in my collection, which is like certainly why I don't need it now. But I think the main reason I was just interested in this is that I had the OG, the original, the first time it was released, the Rose Gold palette. And I'm curious if anyone has that. still kicking. We do a lot. I feel like we finger paint our makeup on a lot more now. If you were someone who didn't finger paint at the time, because the shimmers in that palette were recommended to be finger application only. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I do remember that because I had that palette. I just am curious, is like, did we like, are those shadows good now? Like, would we like those shadows if they mass produced that type of eyeshadow? I'm curious, like, just a thought process, because that palette is like long gone from my collection. Also, my preferences in what my eyeshadow and how I like it to perform are a lot different than they were whenever I first started. I have expensive taste when it comes to eyeshadow. And I've been told this by Tiffany, who's appeared on my channel multiple times, that like, now that I have tasted and tried what I consider to be the best, I'm not really ready to fuss around with a brand with a type of formula of eyeshadow that I just don't feel like messing around with. Like, if it's not going to perform the way I need it to perform from the get-go, I don't really want to spend the time to make it work. I just want it to work, which I don't think is a bad philosophy for anything, by the way. Like, it should just work. This palette is very pretty. I think I like it more now than I probably did at the time that I anti-hauled it. Just not gonna happen. I don't miss it from my collection. Now, I am curious. I feel like this was in my makeup collection for, like, it went in my collection and it exited my collection. So if you are someone watching my channel who I am personal friends with, if you accumulated this palette from me, could you let me know? Because I just don't know if I'm gaslighting myself. I will say I did have the new Nudes palette for a while, and I really liked that palette. I only got rid of it because I really didn't want Huda in my collection, and you know, the way I view my collection is like a lot different than I was viewing my collection when I had, it's whatever. I'm just gonna move along because I'm now talking way too much about something that I don't even own. Let's talk about the KVD Saint Sinners palette. So the KVD Saint Sinner palette, I didn't like Kat Von D at the time, and I feel like this was before Kat Von D like really blew her own shit up in the way that she did for believing and doing the things that she decided to believe and do, and you know, all of that. But if you don't know that information, I'm not going to be the one to tell you. So I recorded this video once, but the audio didn't come through. The audio said no. So I'm going to try to reiterate what my thoughts were. So I was rambling for a while about this palette, and then I realized what I needed to say up front. So we're gonna say that right now. Although I've been saying other things that are not this thing, but I'm going to say it now. So don't blink. In my personal opinion, this is the last time, I think, personally, that a makeup release was an event. And what I mean by that, this is the tail, maybe one of the last products that was released before Colourpop introduced the fast fashion cycle to the makeup industry. We're getting heady. Stay with me. Stay with me. I said heady, not heavy. Just stay with me. Here's what I recall about this palette. Everyone had an opinion about this palette. Everyone knew about this palette. Everyone knew that this palette existed. Now, I think a lot of people who were critical of it didn't like the color story, didn't understand the color story, weren't into the color story. But then there was the other side of people who were like very into this color story, very excited about this color story. But what I will say, this is the last time that I felt like anything was thought through more than 10 seconds. This packaging, wow, way too big, which was my big complaint about it. It was like, where am I gonna put it? Like, if I buy this, where am I gonna put it? Like, it would look beautiful as like a piece on my shelving behind me. Clock Perry the Platypus, Molly, Miss Doodle Bear. They're all behind me. The gals were all here. Miss Kate Bush, Leslie Hunt, Marina. I'm just saying, like, it is a beautiful piece. Like, it feels like a moment, right? It made Kat's eyeshadow palette a moment because it was so well thought out. This packaging was gorgeous. I remember seeing it in person. I worked at Sephora this holiday season that this launched. When I tell you that palette sold out so fast and we never got it back in stock because people were like coveting this thing. And it was so much so that people were buying it so rapidly, quickly, that I felt like I needed to have it. And I was just like, I knew I wasn't that interested in it. Now that I look at the color story now, I think I'm a little bit more into the vibe of this than I was at the time. Again, you know, your taste in makeup evolves and grows and changes as you continue your journey down makeup. So I think I would appreciate this more now than I would have at the time. So I'm glad I didn't buy it because I don't think I would have used it too much. I think it would have been something that I ended up decluttering and then like a couple years later being like, man, I wish I had that because I think I really did like it. Anyway, so I think this is beautiful. I really wish, I would love for makeup to slow down. And we might be heading back to that, but as of right now, like the way makeup releases happen, it's just things are not thought out. And I did a little rant on this. I will post that up there where I just talked about the cycle of makeup, but I also talked about some specific brands, Colourpop being one of them, and how I believe, my personal opinion is that they've changed the makeup industry for the worst. Now, I'm not against affordable makeup. That is not what I'm saying. It's the cycle and speed at which Colourpop releases makeup that I have an issue with. Because when we only got, so essentially before all of this nonsense, if anyone can, let's get in our time machine, we would maybe get 4 major collection releases a year from a brand. Now, most brands would save like the eyeshadow palette for the holiday season, and you would start seeing those around October, early November. Those releases would start coming out, and it was always very exciting. We were waiting for that time of year, but now shit gets thrown at us so fast and often that nothing feels special anymore. But this was a moment. Also, Kat Von D also had the Mi Vida Loca palette, which was a holiday release, I believe. That was before my time. But she also did the metal matte palette, and that was a big deal. So Kat Von D was for a while very good at curating something very special for holiday, and it never seemed pointless. And other brands were too. There were other brands who like saved their best palette for holiday, but it's just like, because the brands are releasing so much stuff throughout the year, there's no time for us to wait or contemplate that time of year, if that makes sense. Because if the last launch was in June and we're waiting for holiday, we're starving. The girls are thirsty. We haven't bought new makeup in a minute because nothing's being released constantly. Like, that's how you got our money. But you know, everyone saw the amount of money you could make by producing just stuff over and over again very quickly, very rapidly. So they started doing that. And like, I kind of begrudge them for that, but it's like, anyway, I do miss makeup being like a moment. There being like a moment, you know? I just don't think we have that anymore. And I do think the Saint Sinners palette was a moment. For the last product we're gonna talk about, it is the Natasha Denona Lila palette. This is interesting. Retrospectively, this one's rather interesting. I am not sure whether or not I owned the Sunset palette at this juncture. I don't know. I can't remember. Do not recall. If I didn't, I was going to own the Sunset palette soon. What is very funny is that most of my eyeshadow collection is Natasha Denona now. Now that's something that's happened very recently. I really like Natasha Denona's eyeshadow formula. I like all of the different types of formulas that Natasha Denona does. I just really enjoy Natasha Denona formula. So my thought is, if I didn't own the Sunset palette, very realistically, the Lila palette should have been the Natasha Denona palette that made me say, Natasha Denona, I'm gonna spend that $130 on this palette and see what's good. What's good, sis? Well, it wasn't. And why I think that this would have made sense for my first Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette is that when I started makeup around the time that this came out, I was probably maybe a year into makeup at this point, but I was still fresh little homo, just enjoying makeup at this time. I wore so much purple and so much pink. That was like my go-to. I loved purple and pink looks. That was very much the vibe. That's what I was throwing down. Were you picking it up? That is like what we were doing at that time. Little Miss Me was just running around purple and pink. Purple and pink are the only colors that I care about. We just love purple and pink. And this is anti-hauled, so I'm confused. Although I don't think I need this now. I think maybe my thought process at the time was that I already have so much pink and purple, but I know that's not the reason. The reason is the $130, and I like that was not something that I was willing to spend at the time. I do not think you need to spend $130 to do makeup and have gorgeous makeup. That's just, I like Natasha Denona formula. That's what I like, so I'm willing to spend it on it. But not this color story. And there are other color stories that Natasha Denona has released at this price point that I was not interested in. Like that weird circus one that was released earlier this year. I was like, I didn't really care for it. I had my eye on it because I was like, do I like this? It was just one of those things that I could not settle on. So I don't know why I was so vehemently against this, like why I anti-hauled it. Personally, in retrospect, this should have started my love affair with Natasha Denona, but no, that's not really what did it. And I had the Sunset palette for a while. I think I just had the wrong color story. But ever since I got my hands on the Natasha Denona 28 pan green palette, my life has changed. I know what I like. Also, I own the 28 pan purple palette. So, not that it makes the Lila moot, but it kind of does. Like, I don't need it. Like, I already have a Natasha Denona purple eyeshadow palette. It's interesting. I don't even know if this one is still made. Like, I don't know if the Lila palette still exists. You know what I'm really fucked off about, though? I did not buy that gold palette. And when I was buying the Sunset palette, I remember my coworker talking, like Sephora coworker, saying that I would like the Sunset more. And that's not true. I probably could have started my love affair with green eyeshadow if I had bought the gold palette, because it had beautiful like green shades in it that I was just like so intrigued by. I was like, this is it. But then I had the Sunset palette. And I still have most of the shades from the Sunset palette, but I did depot it and get rid of the packaging because I actually don't like that foamy packaging that Natasha Denona does. Anyway, really glad I don't own the Lila palette. I don't think, maybe if it was ever like heavily discounted and I was like in the mood to spend money, I might end up with it, but we're trying to break that habit with this no buy. If you made it this far in the video, that's gay rights. And if you like gay rights, you're gonna like this video and subscribe to me because I'm what? A nuanced baguette. Is that my new outro? I think it is. I appreciate you so much for watching this video. Would love to have you stick around. If you like my voice and think you would vibe with it in a podcasting setting, I'm on 3 different podcasts. They're all in that link tree that's in my description box below, and that will also take you to my Instagram should you want to see more of me. Physically, mentally, spiritually, and physically. You can do that on my Instagram. But I really do appreciate it if you have made it this far in the video. Thank you so much. I will see you in my next one, friends.